Welcome to Motherhood, Aligned and Assigned, where we help guide mothers from symptoms to solutions.
We're Dr. Serena Kaufman and Dr. Veronica Schultz, nervous system specialists helping families discover the missing link in their wellness journey.
Join us as we translate complex health challenges into simple, actionable solutions for you and your children.
Because your family deserves to thrive,
not just survive. Okay, so we named this episode Your Pediatrician Says Your Baby is Fine, but Something Feels Off. And it was inspired by a lot of patients, actually. But I recently just got a patient in the office who, her baby just isn't sleeping. She has done all kinds of things to help her baby sleep. Overall, her baby's pretty happy. Like, she wouldn't necessarily be considered like a perfect storm baby. Not really colicky, but she has a lot of just like, doesn't sleep, just a lot of energy, always having a good time, which is great, but also not, recovering at the end of the day, wired a lot of the times, pooping a ton, including in her sleep, which was kind of a big, indicator for me of nervous system health. And her mom took her to the pediatrician, and the pediatrician was like, we've checked everything and she seems fine. She seems great. She'll sleep eventually is what the pediatrician said as we, waited out as we hear a lot of times in our office. So she brought her into our office and she was like, I just don't believe that this sleep pattern is normal. Like, she just genuinely isn't sleeping. And so we got to do a whole history, some scans, and we found out that her baby is actually a little bit dysregulated. And we're actually going to talk about like how common it is for that to happen and how, first of all, your baby better than we do, right? So when you think something is off, it's great to get it checked out. And, pediatric chiropractic, neurologically focused pediatric chiropractic is a great place to start. So we're basically just going to talk about this case a little bit and talk about like how, if you're maybe experiencing similar things, just a couple of things that just don't seem right and that you would like to figure out maybe why. That's what this episode is for.
Yeah, thanks for that intro, Dr. Veronica. I'd like to dig into this a little bit. Pediatricians have a job to is baby gaining weight well? Are they on the right growth curve, right, generally? And a good pediatrician will know that there's cushion there and that every baby is individual and needs to be on their own curve, right? So they're tracking those things, and they're not necessarily, and it's not their job, they're not tracking neurological development, right? And that's what we're specialized in, and that's what we're taking time to look at. And for us, that is like the soft signs of them doing well is, how are they sleeping? And a lot of parents, especially if you're a first-time parent, like I have a mama who thinks that her baby getting 9 hours total sleep within 24 hours is fine and normal. They know that just because it's your first, like, you just don't know what's optimal, right? And so I want babies getting more than 12 hours of sleep, right? I want them sleeping about 12 hours at night and then taking naps, right? And so they're hardly up when they're newborns. So how are they sleeping in general? Are they able to go to sleep pretty easily? Are they able to stay asleep? How long are they sleeping? How are they pooping? That's a soft sign too. Like, how is their digestion going? Is it really slow and uncomfortable and painful and gassy? Or is it too fast? Which that's a tough one, right? We're like, well, baby's pooping a lot. But if they're pooping, like Veronica was saying, like about up to 5 times a day and they're always blowouts, digestion needs to slow down a little bit so they can absorb nutrients, right? So why is it going so fast? Yeah, so baby's neurological development, like their 3 jobs are eating, sleeping, and pooping, right? And so nursing is the other one. If baby's really struggling to latch well and get enough milk and all of those things, we're automatically going to, there's a tongue tie issue. But as chiropractors, we're also looking at, is there so much tension here that they can't comfortably, 1, turn their head to nurse, and then 2, all of the motor nerves that control the tongue and swallowing, are they offline or dysfunctioning so they can't have the appropriate mechanics of doing those things? So those are really in-depth things that we talk about in our office, and then add those with the scans. Dr. Veronica, how old was this baby?
11 months.
11 months, yeah. So I'm still tracking those things at 11 months. Do you ask for anything else for soft signs?
Like latch
at
and
that age? Yeah, or I guess history of latch too. But
Yeah. So what I asked pretty much was very focused on birth and pregnancy. That was like a ton of our, just because on paper, nothing really seemed to be like catching my eye, right? Like usually like parents will write down a certain thing and I'm like, okay, let's talk about this. But for her, it just, I mean, for the most part, if you just broadly looked at the story, it looked great. It was an unmedicated natural birth, 6-hour labor, which kind of like a little bit fast for me as a second baby. That's could be normal, could be a little bit fast. So that was one thing I kind of hung on. But for the most part, the first couple of months of her life were very peaceful. She had a great latch. She was still nursing. Kind of has always struggled with sleep though. So there is that. And then there's also the pregnancy was very stressful for mom and the whole entire family. It was second baby, huge like job change. Dad wasn't around as much as he used to be. So it was just a lot of navigating for mom to figure it out. And so, yeah, it was kind of that we kind of spotlighted and spent some time on because it was, you know, a lot of the coping mechanisms I feel like she might have used to get through the pregnancy was maybe some of the things that I was seeing. And then we started talking about like milestones and development and how she started walking a little bit earlier than we, you know, that's always exciting when that happens. But 9 months at walking, maybe not solidified cross crawl pattern, right? So we kind of went from pregnancy to milestones pretty quickly. And that was where we spent a majority of the time with her history. But I love how you said, you know, like this one mom who was like, my baby is a newborn and gets 9 hours and it's great. We always hear the cliche term of like, it takes a village, right? I don't know your baby as well as you know your baby, but you probably don't know your baby's nervous system as well as I know your baby's like nervous system, like the science behind that, right? And then same thing with like, you know, other providers. I'm not tracking growth. I'm like, I don't do the whole like percentile where, you know, personally I take my kids to a holistic pediatrician and I'm always curious what it looks like, right? So like, and that's just not where my lane of genius is, right? So I think it just goes to show like it really does take a village, and I think the village might look a little bit different than we thought it did, but really having a good holistic nervous system focused pediatrician and a good holistic, if you can find a nervous system at least appreciative pediatrician, that's great. Like ours is always like, they always recommend seeing a chiropractor first, and so we love our pediatricians. They're always like, you can adjust them, mom. But all that to say, I think you can't just take one person's word for it, even, you know, if you're the mom who's also stuck in a state of dysregulation. It's like, if everyone's regulated, let's have a different conversation, right? But I was just thinking, like, almost like having PTSD, thinking about if my newborn had only slept 9 hours in a day, like I would not be okay. Like I can't even imagine. So exactly. So I just think it's cool the way that we get to just partner with parents and show them what neurologically focused chiropractor can do for them and their family, while also hearing them out and hearing the whole picture of what they experience in their kiddo. It just makes for a really cool history. So we actually just started this week, so I don't have any like updates to give yet, but it's just really, I wanted to kind of highlight some of the things that, you know, I feel like in this podcast, we talk a lot about perfect storm. We talk about kids who are colicky and constipated and stressed out. And like, sometimes it doesn't look like that. Sometimes it looks like a beautiful birth and a beautiful baby and a happy baby and all these things. But there's just a couple of things that you're like, man, I wish this could be a little bit different, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah. 'Cause I think even in my practice, I've underestimated the impact of stress in pregnancy. That's what I'm seeing a lot. 'Cause like a lot of mamas here in Idaho, home birth. It's like a thing. And so a lot of moms get unmedicated, no intervention births. And they're like, well, what's wrong with my baby? Why aren't, like, we did the right thing. We didn't even vaccinate. Like we did all of the things. And it's like, okay, well, let's back up. How was your pregnancy? Was it stressful? And they're like, oh, yeah. And so I think that is where, that's even my story with Hadley, right? Home birth, unmedicated. I did acupuncture to like get things rolling, right? So that was my induction, was nervous system regulation, right? And so, but she came out, struggled to latch on one side. And now, like, if I took her to a pediatrician, they would say, well, I don't know how to help you because she looks fine, but she's showing neurological signs of struggling and her nervous system is just exhausted when I give her scans. So we can save that for another topic. But I'm also in the same boat of I did all the right things and still her nervous system is really struggling. And so what is going on there? And I was in chiropractic school when I was pregnant with her. So I cannot claim that it was perfectly unstressful. So yeah, that's what I've noticed. A big pattern is stressful pregnancies. And I think that's just life, right? I think
Mm-hmm.
you can put yourself in a little bubble and try to not have any stress. And that's just not the world we live in anymore. So I
Well, and
never want moms to feel like it's their fault.
Well, I was just going to say we wouldn't want to be, I mean, we'd probably have babies coming out with low tone, like, who cares? You know, like, woo, let's do this thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, the life is way too stressful to want to put you into a bubble. It's never, and I had a couple moms, you know, in my office who are in tears of like, did I do this to my kid? And it's like, one, I understand. I feel like that sometimes, right? I live in a state of stress all the time. But just to take off that weight for the mom and be like, honestly, you're helping them. You know, as I was telling even this mom in the office, it's like you gave her the blueprint of what to expect when you get into this family, right? Like it would be kind of hard as humans, very hard as humans, to be in the stress, like mom is in a stressful situation, be a baby that's like completely blindsided by the stress, and then figure out how to adapt through it. Like this is actually a gift that we get to give our kids of being like, hey, this is the lifestyle we're living in. You're sharing my nervous system so that when you get out, we can kind of do this together instead of being on separate pages, right? It's like they're prepped for the lifestyle you're living, but you can also maybe not have to stay there and show how to be adaptable in stress and rest.
I love that. I kind of just want to sit with that for a second. But okay, when did you come to this revelation? This is like a very good, she's like connecting so many dots for me because sure, like we live in a fallen world where we're going to experience more emotional, physical, chemical stress, and that like we're not in the Garden of Eden anymore, and we can't change that right now. Well, we can't change that, but yeah, that's why as we're developing, using mom's nervous system to understand the environment that we're coming into. That makes so much sense. Anyways, okay.
Well, thank you.
Carry on.
Thank you. Didn't realize how profound it was.
That was really profound, Veronica. I'm going to start talking about that all the time.
Yay.
Okay, so here's
we're learning
how
all
that
the time.
works. Let's connect how stress when you're pregnant impacts baby's nervous system and how they're doing after they're born, right? Because that can be a tough link. But we know from research that cortisol can cross the placenta, right? So if mom has a lot of cortisol in her body because she's trying to respond to a lot of stressors to not necessarily any fault of her own, baby's going to also experience that increase in cortisol. So they're going to have to process that as well. And that's going to have an impact physically on their physical body and in their nervous system, right? Because cortisol impacts our body physically, and that's how we're storing stress. That's like a mechanism to how we start to store stress. So then our physical body is born with those stressors, right? There's the Journal of American Osteopathic Association. There's a study that showed us that 99% of newborns were born with somatic dysfunction. And that's a really fancy word for it. Somatic, that's our body dysfunction. So in our terms, physical stress being held in their body and nervous system, which that's going to impact how we eat, sleep, and poop, right? And so if 99% of babies are being born with some stress in their body, 99% of babies need some help removing that stress from their nervous system so they can eat, sleep, poop the most optimal way possible. So, Veronica, what are some other ways that moms can understand when their baby's not, like, what are other signs? What are other soft signs? Because this baby, yeah, I get this a lot. Mom knows, like, something's not quite right. And so I need to take my baby somewhere where they'll listen to me and have different tools to understand that. But some of it is obvious and we just don't know because we're a first-time parent. So what are other signs that you see?
Yeah, I think in terms of soft signs, I won't lie. I think I'm struggling with this a little bit because I see a lot of toddlers. I see a lot of like, we're past like the baby stages. And now it's like, okay, they are like a hot mess for us. And now I absolutely need help. So I think of like behavior, big emotions, hard to transition, clinginess, which I love a strong, secure attachment with kiddos. Actually, we're kind of talking about this before we started recording, right? It's like we love a strong attachment. We want them to like know that mom is their safe place, but it's also like if they are too scared to do anything or too stressed out to do anything without mom, then it's like maybe we're just a little bit dysregulated, right? So it's like over attachment where it's like they cannot function unless mom is like there to comfort and soothe, right? That is showing them that they're not able to comfort and soothe themselves in any capacity. So, I mean, that's like a fine line, but I do find, during care, part of the neuro detox some of the babies in my office have is like being a little bit more clingy to mom, because that makes sense to me. It's like their brain feels unsafe right now, so they need mom, right? But that's usually a short-lived experience, and then they want to go out and explore again. They always come back knowing mom's like the anchor, the tether. But they should be able to go out for a little bit and come back, right? That's kind of what a true secure attachment is, versus like never wanting to leave mom's side. So I would say that's like a soft sign that improves. Milestones, anything milestone. So talking, walking, crawling, rolling over. And we've even seen like head shape. So we've had a couple of babies in our office where their head shape will change. So we had one baby who was on the HRV, was just tanked, and he had like a very, very flat, borderline needing a helmet. And we found every time he got adjusted, it would literally change shape in the office, and it was because we were able to add more tone into his system. Yeah, it was crazy. Whoa. And so literally mom could see like, okay, like literally his head would go flat, and then we'd adjust and it would round out, just because the more tone, more input, literally that neurological connection would happen, and it would shape out. So just different things like that. I think those are probably the biggest signs that I've seen. But also I like to ask parents, like, what do you feel about this? And sometimes there is like I just don't know. But sometimes, like, I would say if there really is something going on, a parent 99% of the time is correct on like, there's just this one thing that she does, like it's like a hand twitch, or like they pull up their ear, or they always fall to one side. It's like the smallest things that honestly you probably won't know until you start coming into the office. But like now I have parents who are like, I noticed that like he shrugs his shoulder forward every now and then while he's running. And it's like, oh, okay, well that's, left, right side of the brain imbalance. Let's talk about that, right? So you'll get better at this as you actually come to get adjusted with your family, because you'll start to notice like when you see things that just neurologically aren't where we want them to be. And that can be so different for each kid. But hopefully that helps like open up the conversation a little bit.
Yeah. And even so at babe, so it's like those are amazing ones. I don't even know if I would add anything except night terrors and wetting the bed. Those are big ones.
Yes.
Like are those even soft signs? But but like a really like not adaptable to stress and then a really noisy brain. Those are signs of those. But so for babies, I think we hit on is not sleeping unless they're held. So there's like the preference of wanting to be held while you're sleeping, and then there's not being able to sleep at all unless you're in contact. And that's not just like the first 2 or 3 weeks of life. That's just like into like they're crawling in that phase of life, right? That's too much. And also mom and dad, you get under care too, because you're exhausted if that's what's going on.
Yes.
And then reflex is one, startling at noises, and like keeping that startle reflex, which is that moral reflex. And that's a tough one, because that's one that mom is like, I don't feel like it's in a normal range, right? There's like, we want them to be able to startle because that's good. They're responding to their environment, but then we want it to go away.
Yes.
If they're startled everything, and mom feels like it's too much. I feel like mom knows best on that one. She's like, it's just all time. Yeah. So moms, they're not imagining these things, and they know their kiddos, but just no one else knows how to explain what's going on or why it's happening. And they don't have the resources and tools to help them, right? Like a pediatrician doesn't have the resource to integrate a primitive reflex like that. So
yeah, I think this is like gonna birth a new whole entire topic, because that goes to the parents who have done the research and are all about milestones and primitive reflexes and retained reflexes. It's like, truthfully, I don't do anything with that. Like, we don't do any type of, I'll send you out to a PT if it's really necessary, but most of the time you don't need to, because when your nervous system is restored and operating how it should, you don't have those things anymore. Those really are just signs that the nervous system is stuck in those areas. And so we help them through that. I would say 80 to 90, maybe even 95% of the time.
Yeah, I agree. I think balancing the nervous system can help integrate the reflex that's lagging behind.
Exactly.
So for us to be aware of when they should be integrated is helpful.
Yes, because that knows that's something that we can track, right? You can't track if you don't know what's supposed to happen. So for sure. Well, thanks for listening to this episode. I hope that at the very least, the main theme of this episode is you know your baby best. And if you feel in your gut that there's just something that could help your baby process something, whether that's sleep, whether that's eating, whether that's energy, whether that's milestone, right? And you feel like you don't have any answers with maybe the mainstream options for care, right? Like through your pediatrician or through even sometimes like other providers, right? If every other provider is telling you, or every family member is telling you, it's okay, they'll grow out of it, and you just know that there's a different answer for you, you could definitely be rest assured that there are offices out there who are ready to listen to you, ready to understand and give you an explanation as to why you're experiencing what you're experiencing, and then giving you the answers that you need to move forward. We'll probably talk about in another episode what exactly a care plan like that or care looks like, but at least for now, just know that you have providers out there who are ready to listen and understand and know exactly what is going on with your sweet, precious baby. And we are ready for you whenever you're ready for us.
Thanks, Dr. Veronica. That was good. Okay, I'll pray us out. Dear Lord, thank you for gifting our community with multiple gifts and talents so that we can have pediatricians caring for parents in really tough situations for health and tracking progress to let us know that our babies are on track for development in those ways. And then thank you for giving us as chiropractors the gifts of digging into and understanding the nervous system so we can help build a community and a village for parents and raise healthy babies. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for joining us on Motherhood, Aligned and Assigned.
We hope today's episode helped you connect the dots in your family's health journey.
Remember, this is where nervous system health meets motherhood wisdom.
Until next time, we're Dr. Veronica Schiltz
and Dr. Serena Kaufman, supporting you as you nurture your family's well-being.
Because when you're aligned, everyone thrives.